Well, hello! Once upon a time, I wish I'd thought of that. Are you having a good time? Yes, I can't hear you. Yes. Are there any University of Leeds graduates in the house today? Whoa, let's have a cheer for the University of Leeds. Whoa! So, you've all been sitting here very attentively. You're probably all a little bit achy, a bit stiff. We're going to loosen you up. I want to do a bit of time travel to loosen you up. We are going to go back in time to June the 24th, 1968, New York City, about tea time, but we've got to travel by flashback, and you've all got to do it, or it's not going to work. So does everybody know how to travel by flashback? You go diddle-diddle-dum, like in Wayne's World, yeah? So all together now, a Wayne's World flashback, diddle-diddle-dum, diddle-diddle-dum, diddle-diddle-dum. Man, what a day. The heat was boiling off the pavements as I stepped out of the offices of my advertising agency, Salmon, Herring, Pollock and Hake, on Madison Avenue. Thank the Lord it was just a couple of blocks walk west to Grand Central and the 509 Harlem line to Pleasantville. I wonder what Betty would have rustled up for dinner. In this heat, I could use a damn good daiquiri or two, and hell, I reckoned I'd earned them. It had been a great month for Salmon, Herring, Pollock and Hake. 3 pitches, and we'd won them all. I'd been so busy with the contract paperwork, I hadn't looked out of my window all day. There were going to be plenty of jobs in our shop for the new crop of rookies from the Ivy League colleges come the fall. We'd be able to lure them away from Sterling Cooper Draper Price for sure. Hell, we might even snag 1 or 2 that would have gone to Ogilvy and Mather. I'd like to have seen David Ogilvy's face when he found out he'd lost out to us on 2 pitches this week. We were on the up. I'd blown the girls in the typing pool a kiss as I'd headed out the door. I even dropped a smile and a wave to Joe the postboy. I was that happy. Nice kid, Joe. Black kid. 17 years old and saving for college. Christine, my secretary, told me that. Well, good luck to him on that one. I know what my ma and pa would have said about that. For Pete's sake, Harold, who needs a servant with a college degree? But I'd seen the riots in '64 and after Dr. King's death. Things weren't going to stay the same for too much longer. Maybe Joe would end up at Fisk or Howard if he could save up enough. Become a doctor or a lawyer in a black neighborhood, who knew? Maybe he'd even end up on Madison Avenue, like George Olden and Vince Cullers, 2 of the best ad men I'd met, and black. Grand Central was heaving. I got myself down to track 109 and onto the 509 into my usual carriage. But today, it looked different. There were white envelopes on every seat, headed, "An important message to commuters." My interest was piqued. I opened the envelope and I saw the words, "To commuters," from David Ogilvy. A word from on high. I may have beaten him in 2 pitches this week, but this was still a message from God for an ad man like me. What was this about? A plain letterhead. Just the letters UNCF, United Negro College Fund Incorporated. And the first sentence, "When this train emerges from the tunnel at 108th Street this evening, look out of the window." The tunnel's just a minute or 2 out of Grand Central. I hadn't looked out of a window all day. I looked out. And I saw the houses. I saw the kids like Joe going home to their families, and I read David Ogilvy's letter as I looked. How these kids had no chance of getting into Harvard or Yale. How just 2/3 of 1% of the students in the New England colleges were black. How huge the gap was between the amount my alma mater and those of the guys I was on the train with received in donations, and the amount David Ogilvy wanted to raise to send black kids to college. 64 to 1. Those kinds of odds aren't exactly fair to anyone. And he asked us to do something imaginative. take a percentage of what I'd have given to my old place and give it to the UNCF on top. 10%, 50%, he said. You be the judge. Write a check after dinner tonight. Do something imaginative. Well, my alma mater hadn't got a penny out of me yet. But for these kids, the kids I saw, the kids like Joe, I might well do something. I got out of the train at Pleasantville. Before I went, I carefully tucked the envelope and the letter into my inside pocket. I noticed there weren't many left on the seats, and I wondered again what Betty had got on for dinner tonight. David Ogilvy's letter for the United Negro College Fund, left on the seats of commuter trains out of Grand Central on June the 24th, 1968, raised $26,000 in one night. In today's money, that's between $200,000 and $300,000. He had a captive audience with the time to read, and the beneficiaries right there where he could show them to people. So he did, and he raised a ton of money. I wish I'd thought of that. And the UNCF, the United Negro College Fund, sounds a bit old-fashioned, a bit embarrassing maybe to our ears. Well, it's still around. It's raised over $3 billion to send black and ethnic minority students to college in the US since 1944. And I'm going to give you a controversial statistic now. From Oxford's 2012 admission statistics, just 0.4% of students admitted are of black British origin. Now, we can't just point the finger at Oxford or any other university for that, I hasten to add. The problem starts much, much earlier, and there's a lot more around performance in school and A-level results and encouraging applications that has to be addressed, and that takes time and resources, and it takes money. And the US has had a charity working around the clock on it since 1944, now helping to send more than 60,000 minority and underserved students to college a year, with nationwide tours targeting students even before they reach high school. Their mottos, "A mind is a terrible thing to waste." I wish I'd thought of that too. And the gap between donations to US universities and ours in the UK at the moment, $30.3 billion a year plays £774 million a year, nearly 30 to 1. And that's why I'm a university fundraiser. And thank you for letting me share David Ogilvy's wonderful letter with you.